The Kremlin announced today that it is suspending an agreement between Russia and the United States on the disposal of weapons-grade plutonium, worsening relations between the two countries. The Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin came to this decision due to unfriendly acts from the United States towards Russia. The agreement, which came into force in 2010, committed both Russia and the United States to destroying 68 tons of plutonium. This is enough to create over 17,000 nuclear weapons.
Hurricane Matthew is racing towards islands in the Caribbean today and is expected to make landfall in Haiti early Tuesday morning. The storm is already causing flash floods across southern Haiti, where evacuations began Saturday. The National Hurricane Center is calling Matthew the most powerful storm in the Atlantic since 2007. In the latest advisory released, Matthew is expected to maintain its strength and wind speeds as it hits Haiti, Jamaica, and Cuba in the coming hours.
A wildfire continues to burn in the mountains of California's Santa Clara County. It destroyed a dozen homes and burned about 4,400 acres of forest. The fire has been burning the Santa Cruz Mountains since September 26th and still threatens more than 150 buildings. Almost 2,000 workers, including inmate fire crews, are fighting the fire.
The peace agreement between Colombia and the FARC rebel group is in limbo after Colombians voted no to a referendum on the deal. The agreement would have ended 5 decades of fighting. Over 200,000 people have died during that time. It also would have allowed FARC fighters to avoid war crime persecution, an issue many Colombians disagree with. The vote was extremely close, with a difference of only 54,000 votes.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are warning pregnant travelers to avoid 11 countries in Southeast Asia because of Zika virus risks. Countries include the Philippines, Vietnam, Brunei, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Indonesia. The CDC has issued travel alerts to nearly 60 countries over the past year because of risks associated with the mosquito-borne virus.
British Prime Minister Theresa May announced today that Britain will begin negotiations to leave the EU by March of next year. This means the country will leave the EU completely by summer 2019. She emphasized that the UK would strike a deal that would enable it to be completely independent of the EU. This move comes after the UK voted to leave the EU in a referendum this past summer. May took over as Prime Minister from David Cameron less than a week after the vote.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange will be making an announcement via video tomorrow that may include information about Hillary Clinton. He was set to make the announcement from the balcony of London's Ecuadorian embassy before canceling due to safety concerns. Hillary Clinton's opponents have called the dump, quote, October surprise, and hope some more damaging documents are released about the candidate.
Vice presidential candidates Mike Pence and Tim Kaine are preparing for the debate tomorrow. More than 1/3 of voters polled don't know enough about the candidates to form an opinion. The debate will be held at Longwood University in Virginia. Sarah Kravetz has the latest on the debate.
Democratic vice presidential nominee Senator Tim McCain and Republican vice presidential nominee Governor Mike Pence are preparing to debate for the first time on Tuesday, October 4th. Candace Nelson, an expert in voter behavior and congressional and presidential elections, says this campaign season is unprecedented, and many did not believe Donald Trump would win the Republican nomination. Nelson says that she won't hazard a guess as to who may win the 2016 presidential election. Elaine Quijano of CBS News will be moderating the debate hosted by Longwood University in Farmville, Virginia. The debate will begin at 9 p.m. and will run for 90 minutes.
Everything that we know about voting behavior would suggest that this would be an election that would favor a Democratic candidate. Hillary Clinton has the experience, she has the money, she's run for office before successfully, but there's a group in the electorate that's unhappy and dissatisfied, and from what we can tell, Mr. Trump seems to be speaking to those people. So even if he has vague policies or says things that people might think are inappropriate, it doesn't seem to affect his core group of supporters.
Independently about their views of the country. I know they have their party platforms, and I don't want to hear them just mimic and repeat the same talking points that we heard from the presidential candidates. I'd like to hear the vice presidential, their own views.
Well, I think it'll be much more civilized. I think it'll probably be more policy-oriented. Both Mike Pence and Tim Kaine are experienced politicians. They've been in office, they've held office. But I think they'll also try and speak to the advantages that each of their respective presidential candidates have.
I'm Sarah Kravetz, District Wire News.
Coming up, an outdoor exhibit on the National Mall takes visitors through the journey of a refugee. You'll hear from an aid worker who is on the front lines of the refugee crisis after the break.